It's Thursday night football. Philadelphia Eagles visiting the New York Giants. Week 6. Yeah, they grow up so fast. We're already in week 6 of the NFL regular season, and we've got some player props for you today over on PrizePicks. My name is CJ Curry. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. If you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. It's free for you to subscribe. One simple press of that subscribe button gets you access to all the picks, plays, parlays that I'm dropping here on this YouTube channel. So I appreciate you in advance for subscribing. If you like what I do in these videos, let me know by hitting the like button. What might be a simple click for you means a whole lot to me in growing the channel, getting the news out to everybody out in YouTube land. So I appreciate you in advance. So what do we have for tonight's game? Well, it's kind of a low-scoring affair, supposedly, according to Vegas. This one has a total of about 40.5 points, one of the lower totals of this week's NFL slate. Philadelphia Eagles on the road, 7-point favorites. They expect Philadelphia to beat the Giants after suffering their first loss last week against the Denver Broncos. So hopefully it's another fly Eagles fly. If you're an Eagles fan like me, that's what you're hoping for anyways. If you're a Giants fan, well, you probably hope for something else. But yeah, gonna probably be one of those little ugly short week Thursday night football games with not a lot of points, not a lot of offense. So I'm trying to tread carefully here and not put too many coins on this game and not put too many picks out there as well. Now, I do have a couple of picks from both sides of this game, a couple for Philadelphia, a couple for the New York Giants. So let's go ahead and slide on into that. We'll start things off with the Philadelphia Eagles side of things since they're the visiting team. And I'm going to start it off with Saquon Barkley. I think he's going to be a lot more involved than he was last week, let's just say. Maybe the Eagles were kind of holding him back a little bit in preparation for this short week. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different ways that you could play Saquon Barkley. I think his fantasy score at 17.5 is worth a look. I won't go too deep into that one, but his combination of running, receiving, and touchdown upside always makes him a pretty solid fantasy score play. But I think I'm going to go with the rushing attempts in this game. On a short week, Philadelphia Eagles may feed Barkley the ball. We'll just have to see how it all plays out. But 18 rushing attempts is something that he's done, 18 or more, in most of the games that he's played in this season, except for that last one, like I said, against Denver, where he kind of had a little knee issue. They were saying that his knee was a little messed up or something. But they're classifying this as general soreness for Saquon Barkley, so I'm not too concerned here. Like I said, they could have just been saving him, limiting his reps for this marquee matchup against his former team, the New York Giants. But at 18 rushing attempts, let's take a peek at Saquon Barkley here. We'll start things off by looking at his projection over on RotoWire. Now, RotoWire is a really fantastic tool. Not only does it work for PrizePicks, player props, but it also works for a number of different sites. Like you see here, it works for Underdog, DraftKings Pick 6, Sleeper, and then a whole plethora of different sports books as well, such as FanDuel Sportsbook, DraftKings, BetMGM, BetRivers, RTS Sports, Hard Rock Bet, and Caesars. And it's not just an NFL tool. No, folks, it covers all the sports you could possibly think of. NFL, NHL, which is really firing up tonight, MLB, we're in the postseason here for the baseball, NBA, which is right around the corner. It also works for MMA, WNBA, PGA, esports, and more. So definitely check out RotoWire. There's a link down in the description of today's video for everything that I feature on this channel. But if you look at the options here, according to this RotoWire player prop projection tool, the top option for the lean more is Saquon Barkley for his 18 rush attempts. So let's pop this open and take a closer look. They have him projected for about 18.26 carries tonight in what's expected to be kind of a fairly close game, with the Eagles being a favorite. I do like the idea of maybe Philadelphia leaning more on the running game, especially if they're able to establish an early lead. They can use some of that clock up late in the game by handing it to their bell cow running back. But taking a look at what he's done this season, 5 games in the books already for this NFL season. Saquon Barkley's had at least 18 carries in 4 out of 5. Against Denver, like I mentioned, did not get there. Only 6 carries versus the Broncos. Very light workload for him, but he had 18 against Dallas to open the season, 22 against the Chiefs, 18 against the Rams, 19 against the Buccaneers before that abysmal game against Denver where he had just 6 totes. But maybe this is a bounce back game for Barkley. Maybe they reestablish their top running back, and hopefully that's the case. But the projection is at 18.26. So yeah, this could tie, this could push. But if that happens, it's not the end of the world on PrizePicks. That just means, let's say you have him in a 6 pick, it goes down to a 5 pick and so on. So it would revert down to a smaller entry size. What about some of these other projections for Saquon Barkley? Let's head over here and take a look at his rushing attempts on Fantasy Labs. Now, Fantasy Labs is a combination of projections, two of the sharpest minds in the industry, Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon. You combine their powers, their projections, and then you get these consensus projections. And the consensus between those two gentlemen are that Saquon Barkley is going to have about 19 or more rushing attempts. So that puts him over by 1.4 rushing attempts versus the New York Giants tonight. So I like that projection when you kind of compare it to the line of just 18 for Saquon Barkley. That's looking pretty good. I got a number of other projections we'll also take a look at, including the Blitz by my guy Derek Carty. We'll go to the rushing attempts there. And when you pull up Saquon over there, he's at about 17.45, so a little on the lighter side. But you'll see some of these other projections have him at 18 or more. Let's take a look at Barkley over on a site like LineStar. LineStar's got him at 18.5 rushing attempts for Saquon Barkley, so they have him going for at least 18 or more. And then also check out this one. It's normally used to be called Number Fire. It's now known as FanDuel Research, but they have Barkley's rushing attempts at 19.23. Again, putting him over 19. We need 18, but they think he's got 19 plus tote upside in this matchup. So Saquon Barkley over 18 rush attempts looks like an okay play to me. What are we doing for the Philadelphia Eagles other than Barkley, though? This one's going to be kind of a, we'll call it a wild card because these defensive props can be a little bit tricky. But I'm looking at Philadelphia Eagles linebacker Zack Baun at 8.5 tackles plus assists. The only thing that kind of creeps me out about this one, I mean, we're right around Halloween season, so I guess we can get a little spooky. The only thing that's a little spooky about this one is that the New York Giants are pretty depleted at wide receiver, and they may get their tight ends, Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger, more involved, which may lead to more tackle opportunities for Zack Baun. But I'm looking to take the under on Zack Baun at 8.5 tackles plus assists here, and I'll explain why in just a moment. Let's go over here to RotoWire and take a peek at Zack Baun's projections. Now, as far as tackles and assists projections go, RotoWire is the only site that I know of that offers these types of projections for defensive players, individual defensive players like my man Zack Baun here. But let's take a peek at what Zack Baun's projected for. 8.14 tackles plus assists. So he can kind of accrue tackles plus assists or tackles in a number of different ways. It can be a full solo tackle, or it can be a tackle that he's assisted on. Anyway, they have him at 8.14 projected tackles plus assists. What has he done this season? Well, it's been kind of, I guess, a down season for Zack Baun. 9 in the opener, so he went over in that one. But then the next 3 games, he went under with 6, 7, and 8 tackles plus assists. He had 12 against Denver in that most recent game. But I want to flash back to his previous matchups against the New York Giants. He faced them twice last season, and in those 2 games, he had just 1 tackle back on December the 17th against New York. And then more recently, October the 20th, he had 6 tackles against the Giants. So not a lot of tackles for Zack Baun, not a lot of historical success against the New York Giants when it comes to these tackles plus assists. And this season, like I said, he's gone under in 3 out of 5. Maybe that game against the Denver Broncos when he had 12 tackles plus assists was a bit of an outlier, and he comes back down to what his averages are, which are right around 8.4 this season. So throwing that one out there, you could take it if you want, but like I said, these defensive props can be a little bit shaky. So if you want to flex it, feel free to flex it. Now, what about the New York Giants? We got 2 picks we got to look at for the New York Giants. We're going to start things off with Cam Skattebo, the rookie running back for the New York Giants, who's looked pretty impressive here, especially in the passing game. And with the wide receivers depleted for the Giants, no Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton has been ruled out. Maybe you see more check downs and more running back and tight end involvement from Jackson Dart. And Cam Skattebo at 3 receiving targets looks pretty darn good here. Now, this is just targets, meaning he doesn't have to catch the ball. He just needs the ball to come his way. Dart just needs to throw it in his direction. And if he does so, well, you get a target for that. And so Cam Skattebo sitting at 3 receiving targets. I'm leaning toward the over in this one, especially if the Giants are playing from behind. I mean, they are 7-point underdogs, right? So we expect the Philadelphia Eagles to lead this dance, which means the Giants will have to probably throw the ball a little bit more. So maybe there's more opportunities for Cam Skattebo if the Giants are playing from behind. But this one's looking pretty good. Let's take a closer look. We'll go over to RotoWire and start things off there. Cam Skattebo, a number of different ways you could play him. A lot of the projections for RotoWire and Cam Skattebo are for unders. That includes his receiving yards, rushing plus receiving yards, his receptions, and his rushing attempts are kind of on the downside as well. So let's take a look at the targets. He's projected for right around 3 targets, 2.94 targets. Tyrone Tracy is expected to come back, but I mean, has Skattebo done enough to really like have a lock on the lead running back role? I mean, I think he has. I think he's played pretty well in the absence of Tyrone Tracy. I think he's earned himself, a considerable amount of snaps and reps. But let's take a look at what he's done this season with these 3 targets. For a total of 5 games played for Cam Skattebo, he's gone over in 2 games. He's had 3 or more in 3 out of 5 games. So the targets have definitely been there for him. How much Tyrone Tracy will play tonight coming off of an injury, I don't know. We're going to find out. Nobody really knows. It's up to the coaches. But yeah, I mean, targeted 7 times in his last game against the New Orleans Saints. I don't expect him to have that many targets. I don't expect him to have 8 targets like he had versus Kansas City. But 3 seems doable, like a safe number, maybe even 4. We'll just have to see how things play out for Cam Skattebo. But nonetheless, he is projected for right around 3 on RotoWire. Now, every projection model is a little bit different and will yield a little bit of a different result. So let's check out Skattebo over on the Blitz by my guy, Derek Carty. Derek Carty's Blitz projection system has Skattebo at about 3.7 receiving targets tonight. So a little closer to 4 than 3. So there is some potential or upside here based on these projections that Skattebo can get to that magical 3 number, which is the safe landing spot, but maybe even that 4 number that we're hoping for. Taking a peek over here at LineStar. LineStar does provide some fantastic player prop projections, kind of similar to a RotoWire. Not quite as good as RotoWire, but terms of what they offer, but still really solid. They have them at 3.6 projected targets. So over 3, closer to 4 than 3. So that's good news. And then last but not least, FanDuel Research is going to have Cam Skattebo at a total of 3.12 targets. So 3 does seem doable. If he ties, if he pushes, like I said, not the end of the world. That just means that your entry reverts down a notch. A 6 pick would become a 5. A 5 would become a 4. You kind of get the picture. And finally, our last pick of today's video. This one's going to be a little bit of a wild card because we're not real sure what's happening with the New York Giants receiving room. But Bo Collins at 13.5 receiving yards for the over might be a decent play. It's going to be him. It's going to be Hyatt. Outside of that, I mean, I don't know who else they have on their roster. I mean, that can catch footballs. Obviously, Wan'Dale Robinson's going to be their wide receiver 1, but he can't do it all on his own. They're going to have to find somebody else to step up. And Bo Collins is projecting very well today, despite the fact that he's an undrafted wide receiver, despite the fact that he hasn't had a huge role in this passing game. Again, no Malik Neighbors, no Darius Slayton. So some of these guys like Collins, like Hyatt, are going to step up. And out of the 2, Collins and Hyatt, Collins is projecting better, which is why we're looking at Collins. So let's check out some projections here for Bo Collins. Starting with RotoWire, Bo Collins, 21.12 projected receiving yards tonight. Again, 2025 hasn't done much, right? 0, 0, 0, 0. 7 against New Orleans, but that was with Slayton playing some of that game. So we'll have to see what he does tonight. He was targeted 3 times, though, against New Orleans. Hopefully he does a better job of reeling in those targets, turning those targets into receptions. But yeah, you got to love the projection here of 21.12 receiving yards. Moving on to some other projections for Bo Collins. Of course, we're going to go over to the Blitz and check out the receiving yards projection there. They've got him all the way up at 23.5 receiving yards. Big number for Beau Collins. Very favorable projection, especially when you consider his line is just 13.5 over on PrizePicks. So nice projection, 10 yards higher, according to the Blitz. We're also going to check out Fantasy Labs. Sean Kerner, Chris Raybon's receiving yards projection for Collins, 19.6. Still a healthy over when you compare it to the 12.5 or 13.5 like he is on PrizePicks. That projection looking very solid as well. Line Star's got a projection for Beau Collins. And of course, we'll check that one out for you. Beau Collins is at 18.6 receiving yards, according to Line Star. They have him listed as the wide receiver 2 tonight. So hopefully that's the case and he gets more snaps than Hyatt, playing alongside Wan'Dale Robinson. Going over to FanDuel Research, checking out Beau Collins' receiving yard projection, 33.57 receiving yards. It's the highest projection of any of the projection models that are out there today. So a lot of love for Beau Collins. Like I said, targeted 3 times last week, and that was with Slayton playing partial, part of that game. Maybe tonight he gets even more work, more looks, more targets, more snaps. And so the over on 13.5 receiving yards looks like a justifiable play based on those projections. But that's just what I dug up. What about you guys? You viewers out there, you got anything that you're really liking for the Philadelphia side or the New York Giants side? Leave it down in the comment section below. Help your fellow viewer out. Maybe there's somebody out there that's scrambling to find some last-minute picks for this Thursday night football rivalry game between the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. It's fly, Eagles fly for me. Hopefully Philadelphia gets back on track after that big win streak we were on. If you're a Giants fan, hey, my prayers go out to you. I'll catch you in the next video real soon. If you're in Dub Club, put some baseball plays out there, some hockey plays out there, and mix it with some of these NFL plays and see if we can win like we did last night with that big 10x slip. Catch you in the next video real soon. Peace.